All right, well, sorry for those of you that are tuning in live. For some reason, the microphone is not attaching to WebEx. It says something about WebEx can't attach to your microphone right now. Try again later or something. So it might be on WebEx's end that we're having the issue. So OBS is obviously not having an issue. So the YouTube video that you're probably watching right now, if you're hearing this, is where you'll get all the information that you need. So hang tight. Let's go through this real quick. All right. So this week in Internet Intranet Server, we are kind of taking a bit of a left turn and looking at the very basics of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So these are concepts that you really don't get anywhere else in our curriculum, and so they kind of do feel a little shunted in here. But it's all for a purpose. The whole reason that I want you guys introduced to these things is twofold. Number one, in the next couple of weeks, we are going to be adding the things that we learn here into a web server that we're going to install on Windows first with IIS next week, and with Linux the following week with Apache. Those are the two, well, those are two of the three most popular web servers out on the internet now. You also have Nginx, which is available almost exclusively on Linux. And honestly, it just came down to, is it Apache or is it Nginx that we're going to use in this class? And I chose Apache because it has a very long history of usage in Linux. And even if you don't have Linux, you can run it in Windows as well. So it's pretty easy to get a hold of, though Nginx is able to be installed in Windows as well. So I keep saying that word. This is what I'm saying. Yep, as far as I know, you pronounce it Nginx. So, you know, whatever. Apache is the way you expect, and IIS is similar. So anyhow, those three things are really what we're after this week, and we'll be spending our time really just in a text file right now. One of the really cool text editors that you can get, and that will really help you. Doesn't matter what operating system you're on, is VS Code. So this, and I don't even think I have it on this machine. Nope. Is probably one of the better text editors that you can get your hands on. VS Code is available on every platform, on Windows, on Mac, on Linux, doesn't matter what you're running at all. VS Code will get you done. And it is a product by Microsoft, which may or may not make you happy. But it is quickly becoming the de facto standard for pretty much anything that you want to do. If you are writing code in any form or fashion, VS Code is probably going to be the one recommendation that is consistent no matter who you ask, where you go, or what you do. Yep, you're going to hear the diehards tell you, well, just use Notepad. Well, I mean, you can. But Notepad doesn't give you cool colors and really kind of help you kind of parse through some of this code. So you install VS Code the same. I know I'm on a Mac and probably nobody else is, but you install it pretty much the same way here as you do anywhere else. So, for some reason you don't install it in Mac. That's weird. But anyway, long story short, VS Code, really cool. So just do yourself a new file. One of the cool things that you can do is down here where it says plain text. I mean, this is quite literally just plain text, right? So nothing terribly special right there. You can use it as a replacement for Notepad if you'd like. That is actually one of the ways that I actually use it. The other way, however, though, is right here. It actually lets you select languages, and actually, all three of the languages that we're going to be using in this particular week are available in the list here. So what I did was click down here in plain text, where it says plain text. It'll give you this, and then you can just type in what you want, right? So if you're working on an HTML file, you choose HTML, and then at that point, you get cool things like that, right? And it does a lot of this stuff for you. It does this color coding for you, so it makes sure that you stay on track. But take a look, right? You do a tag in HTML, which we're going to talk about again here in just a minute, and you close that tag, and it immediately creates the other end of that tag. And then you can start writing things. Right? You can save this file wherever you want. I'll stick it on my desktop just because that's the easiest way to do that. And let's see, let's call this, well, we'll call it index.html just simply because that's the most common file. So let me go see if I can find that. Index.html, see if I can't open with, and let's do Firefox. Okay, there you go. And then you get something like that, right? So don't worry, I'm going to go through all of this. I don't need you guys to know just yet what the body tag and p tag and all that other fun stuff does. Y'all are going to be doing a little bit of research on your own, and I'm not going to make you guys go through, a full-on HTML class or something like that to understand this. But that's kind of the deal. I wanted to show you more how VS Code works than how HTML works. So if you double-click up here in the empty space, you'll get a new tab, and you can go through that process again. In this case, I want CSS, and you can do things like that, right? So the languages are a little different. Then you can do the same thing with JavaScript, Java, and obviously JavaScript React are all different. We want regular old JavaScript. And you can start adding things, little color code stuff for you as well. So you can go through each and every one of these and configure. JavaScript is going to end up in your HTML file anyway, so you're not going to have to worry about this particular thing, but it will help to know that you can do that. So anyhow, here's really where the rubber hits the road. What I want you to do is on your desktop or wherever, it doesn't matter, I don't really care where you put it. Desktop is just easy for me. Create a folder called Web Practice. In it, I want you to create an HTML file, just like I did in VS Code. Name it index.html. And then create a CSS file named styles.css. Those are the only two files that you're going to need, at least to get all your code in. And I've got a few things that I want you to do. Now, hopefully these aren't going to be really difficult things for you. The first bullet point and the third and fourth bullet point are going to be super duper easy. All you really got to do is just type some stuff out. This one is going to be one that's a little more difficult because you've got to actually go in and learn a little bit about JavaScript before you can get stuff done. But I'll show you some quick ways to get through that. You can do some copying and pasting. Anyhow, so a one-sentence description of your favorite game, movie, or song. I mean, honestly, here you can just use the p tags that we've got here. I like the Big Lebowski. And, right, finish that out. JavaScript, we're going to come back to this, so don't worry. An image. This is something that is fairly simple to do. If you have an image, let's go and grab an image real quick. Find us this image. Let's save this thing. Stick that on my desktop. The Big Lebowski. Smaller so I can deal with all this. So I've got that image now. You can do something like img src equals close that out. Now, there's some things that you can do, and I'm going to show you how to figure out how to add some fun stuff to this, but we'll save that. We'll open that with Firefox again. And you can see, right, got all that stuff that I've got there. There's the image I was talking about. That image is massive. So what you're going to want to do in the image source is add, you can go in here and do height equals, let's say 500, and then width equals, and do you see what's happening there? Like, as I start typing, this is really cool. This is why I like you to get VS Code. I don't need you guys to memorize these particular things, but oh, well, it sure was working a second ago. Well, anyway, width equals, what was it? I think it's because I had some stuff selected. But the very first time, you'll see it in the video, the very first time that I do that, it auto-completes it for me if you click tab, or if you hit tab. The width itself was a little wider. I think this is probably going to be, it's going to break the aspect ratio of it all. But let's open that again real quick, and you can see, that's pretty close. That's pretty close. But you can change the dimensions of an image without actually altering the image itself. So anyhow, these are the kinds of things that I'm wanting you to do on the image. Link to a page. So the way that you're going to do that is the a tag, href equals, and then actually I don't know if let's see, how about let's just do this. We'll take that. Oh, you know what? I'll do the IMDb page. How about that? That'll work. It makes it a little smaller as well. All right. There we go. Close that tag. The stuff in between this tag and the close A is going to be what you wanted to say. So the Big Lebowski. Save that. Let's look at this one more time. And you can see a link right down here. You click on it, and it goes to the link that you had put. So this is what it's going to say. It's what the link is going to say. This is where the link is going to take you if you click on it. And to make that look prettier, I'm going to add what's called a line break. Save that back on Firefox. We can refresh that page, and now it's down in line. So anyhow, that's really kind of the hardest part about HTML. So now that I showed you that, there are a few things that I want y'all to know. So this website here is going to answer any question that you ever actually have about what do I do here, what do I do there, how do I set these things up, etc., etc. And this is probably the easiest way to deal with it. So if you go to HTML, right in the home, there is what is considered a skeleton. So this skeleton is basically what every single document that you ever deal with on the internet is going to have. Now, interactive pages, like what we've got here, are going to be it's going to have way more code than what you're looking at right there. Let's see if I can, developer tools, yeah. This is what theirs looks like, right? It's got that HTML tag though. It's got that head tag, it's got that body tag. As you go down, it's got the close body tag, close HTML. So it's got all of this stuff, just way, way more meat to it than you're looking at right here. So one of the cool things that we can do with this is copy it. Paste that in there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of what they had. And I'm going to take what I wrote, cut that, paste that, and then get rid of my old stuff. There we go. And this title thing is really cool. Right? Say that. Everything else is pretty good looking. We'll Let's save that, and we'll check out Firefox one more time. Notice there's the title I just put, and everything else is pretty much the same. So the tags themselves, if you notice, don't actually show up. That is one of the really cool things about all of this. And by the way, VS Code is going to show you this stuff if you want it to actually, if you want to learn more about it, right? But, oh, wrong browser. W3 Schools will actually do a pretty good job about telling you what's going on here. So we'll get rid of that. All right, so as far as HTML goes, those are the concepts that I need you to know. An image, a link, and then just some basic text. Now, I also want you to look at CSS. So the hardest part about this CSS is going to be, I want you to have the CSS in a separate file. Copy. We'll go to our CSS file. We paste that in. You can see everything is color-coded. All nice. And here's one of the cool things that VS Code does for you. It literally shows you what color it's going to be right next to the reference that you typed. So white, literally white. Light blue, if you look real close, it's kind of hard to see because it's light blue. Here, let me just do blue. There, that's a little easier to see. That would be a horrible background color though, so I won't do it. And one of the things that I really want you to do is pick your own colors. This is fine. I mean, these colors are fine, but no, choose something else. Choose different colors. And choose different fonts as well. One of the things about fonts, though, go here. It's going to give you the basics on fonts, right? You typically want, I mean, if you're trying to be formal, it's going to be a serif font. Serifs have these, little formal-looking thingamajigs. And sans serif are these here that are your typical print, and it's going to give you some ideas of what fonts look good where, why you would want to choose one, things like that. And this is how you would write them in, right? So I'm not necessarily too terribly worried about what's going on here. But I do want you to read over some of this stuff. I want you to hodgepodge something together. So notice, here's the way that these work. So body, anything in the body, if you look at HTML, here's your body. So everything is going to have a background of light blue. So you define body, you open it up with a curly bracket, tell it what you want the body to behave like, and then close that. Then you move down to the next one, H1. So H1, you can find these in HTML. Let's see, probably under headings, maybe. Well, H1 is really just the first type of heading. It's going to be really, really big. Let me just show you what it looks like. H1. My page. Type whatever you want there. We'll go look at it. It makes the text really big. It's a heading. There's H1, H2, H3, H4, H5, and I think H6, and each of those gets progressively smaller, H1 being the biggest, H6 being the smallest. So you can use as many as you'd like. That's the idea there. But H1, color white, text align, center, font family, or I'm sorry, yeah, that was it for the H1. You can mess with it however you'd like. P is paragraphs. So notice over here, P. Anything in a paragraph bracket or in a paragraph tag is going to behave like this. It's going to have the Verdana as the font family. Font size is going to be 20 pixels. It's actually going to be kind of big. So play with that. Make it look like the way you want it. Now, one does not affect the other just yet. So let me save this. We're going to name this guy, what did I say, my styles? I can't remember what I said, but name it the right name of the file that I've got for you in the lab. And by the way, these are the files that I want you to put in Web Practice. These files here. They'll need to be in that directory. So one of the two challenges I have for you today or for this week, is how do you link this mystyles.css into index.html? So you can do that by reading through this stuff. I mean, to be honest with you, you can also just Google it, to be honest. I don't really care how you find the answer. One of the things about IT in general is not do you know the answer. And this comes up in interviews all the time as well. Not do you know the answer, but can you find it? And how quickly can you do that? So one of the subtexts of this class has always been, can you find the information that you need and make that work? So one of the challenges that you're going to run into in this course or in this particular lab is how do you get your web file here, your index.html file, to respect the styles that you've defined here in your CSS file. So you'll do that up here somewhere, and you'll define this file. So again, it's listed here, but again, just straight up throw it into Google, link CSS into HTML file, something like that. You'll find it. But there is a lot to be said about actually going through some of this. It is really informative, at least, to go through this information and figure out how all this stuff actually works. It's not really that difficult, to be honest with you. If you spend some time in it, it honestly all follows the same flow like this. Once you get into some really complex and like animated things, that's really when it gets difficult. But I'm not asking you to build an entire interactive website. Just a small interactive website. So the what I had mentioned before is that we'll come back to it. But before we do that, in CSS, here's what I want you to do: set a background color. Set all of the text to be a certain color. It can be more than one color. You can do your headings one color, you can do your paragraphs another color, whatever. It doesn't really matter to me. However you want to deal with that. And then all the text should be centered in the page. Now you can center the image as well if you feel like it makes it look better. Honestly, go wild with this. These are the 3 basic rules I want you to respect in this CSS file, but that does not mean that those are the only rules that you can put. Put as many rules in here as you want. Just play around with it. Honestly, this week is not going to take that long. So if you've got the time, and yeah, considering what's going on this week with the virus and all, you might have more time on your hands than you normally do. You might have less time on your hands than you normally do. So I totally understand that. So if you have less time, okay, those 3 rules. Get those done, call it a day. If you have more time, though, spend some time in this. Actually go through some of these things, because this, if you've ever wanted to, if you've ever had that inkling to say, one of these days I really want to write that app and sell that on the iTunes store or the Play Store or whatever, right? This is step 1. This is step 1. This is how just about everybody in the world creates web-enabled applications. They use JavaScript. So, or some form of it, right? Like Node.js or React or something like that. But it all stems from this. So diving into JavaScript now will help you out in the future. So spend some time here, right? HTML, CSS, JavaScript, these are the 3 languages that run the entire internet. Spend some time. So in JavaScript, that's this. I want you to create 2 buttons. One that hides the text that you've created right here, right? So I want you to create 2 buttons in this line that control this text. I want you to click a button that will hide it. Then I want you to click a different button to show it again. Now, if you are adventurous enough, you can make this 1 button. It's easier to understand if you create 2 buttons, but if you're feeling adventurous, you can make it into 1, and that is fine with me. So long as there is at least 1 button controlling the text I have highlighted on the screen right now. Right? I mean, well, not literally that text, but whatever text you have. So in my case, it would be this text. one or two buttons that control the hiding and showing of this, whatever text you put in this paragraph. And that's pretty much it. But let me show you where you can figure out how to do this. This is the second challenge. The first challenge is figuring out how to link your CSS into your HTML. The second challenge is, let me see, right? So this is a button that very simply shows that. Shows the current date and time. But it doesn't do anything else, right? Once you click it, it's clicked. These buttons here, try it yourself, are really fantastic. Because what it does is it shows you exactly what you would want. Copy and paste that into your code, into your HTML file, and it quite literally gives you the button, right? If I go into my page, open with Firefox, oh, wrong thing. Oh, I know what I did. There. Open with Firefox. Try that one more time. There we go, right? You get the button anyway. And, oh, what did I miss? Oops. Oh, the ID demo. I missed that part. All right, save that bad boy. It should work. There we go. That's one of the things that you will realize pretty darn quickly with code is that you get it wrong, it doesn't work. And it's kind of obvious that it doesn't work. But you get it right, and you're good. But one of the things that you see, though, watch this. Right? That doesn't move. You click the button again, it does update. So every time you click the button, something happens. Right? So it is doing its job. It's just not doing it actively. And that's fine. I'm not too terribly worried about that. All right, well, that doesn't answer the other question, right? How do you hide it? So let me show you what to do. So so that's JS Home. So if you just click on JavaScript, it's going to take you right. This very first thing that you see is this button that shows you how to do that, and you can see the code behind all that. Well, there's another button under JS Instruction here, and it says a little light bulb, right? Turn on the light. Click it again and again and again and again, nothing happens at that point because it's on, right? So, I mean, turn on the light. It's already on, so I'm not going to do anything. Turn off the light. And, yeah, but back and forth. On, off, on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off. Right? Go into the try it yourself. Here is the code that you need to do this. So what I would like you to do is that very first example, and this is really where the challenge lies. Take this idea and apply it to your text, but take this idea of turning it off again and also apply it to that text. That is the challenge here. Most everything you can just copy and paste when it comes to HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. But herein lies the challenge. There is no direct copy and paste to anything that I'm asking you to do right now. So you need to figure it out. If for some reason you run into a brick wall and you just can't figure it out or something like that, obviously I will be able to help you out and we'll get through it together. But I would really like you to figure this out on your own. If you can do that, that'll open the door to just about everything. So I had mentioned that if you ever wanted to make an app, blah blah blah, you can totally do that with this type of knowledge. And this is really the starting point. The other big thing that you can do with this is the beginning. Learning JavaScript, and well, learning any programming language at all, but JavaScript is a good one. Learning anything, any programming language, is the first step to being able to dive into the world of security. Yeah, hopefully, if you're thinking about security in any way, shape, or form, that little light bulb came on. This is important. The day that you say that I want to be a security researcher, I want to be a pen tester, I want to be this or that or whatever, and that falls squarely underneath the security umbrella, you are going to need to know a programming language to be successful. Can you be a pen tester without learning a programming language? Yes. Can you be a good pen tester without knowing a programming language? That is much harder. Yes, you can, but it will be with everybody else's code, and you won't know what that code is actually doing. The ability to open up the source code of a specific application or a specific script or anything like that and be able to read through it and understand what it does is a hallmark of a good security researcher or security advisor or security this or security that, right? Any of that, a hallmark of a good one is someone that can look at, and it might even be code that you've never seen before and don't even know how to read, right? Like you might be able to get Node.js files, but because you at least have a basic understanding of how JavaScript works, you can muddle your way through it. And this hinges off of what we learned in Linux as well, right? The scripting in Linux through Bash very much lends itself to how JavaScript works. So you already have a bit of a head start in figuring out how stuff goes together. So anyway, I'll get off my soapbox on why you want to learn this stuff and just let you guys get at it. So anyhow, those are the big things, right? So create yourself a directory, put all the files in it. This line, and this line are pretty simple HTML stuff. This line is JavaScript. That's going to be really where the challenge is. And these three lines here are all CSS. The challenge there is linking your CSS file into the HTML file. Do not put the CSS directly in the HTML file. What I mean by that is don't go into the HTML and then create yourself a separate line for CSS and then just put your CSS directly in there. And then do not put the CSS directly in the body tag or the P tag or the H1 tag. I want you to have a separate style sheet and link it here. It should be one line, and it should have a ref styles, and it should be here. Link that file. That's it. That's what I'm looking for. And then zip all that up. So put all that stuff in a file. If you're in Windows, which you probably are, put all that stuff in a web practice directory, right-click on it, and then send to zip. If you're in Linux, you can do the same thing. Send to, and you have a ton of different options there as well. You can just send to archive. I forget what the thing is. I'm not looking at Linux at the moment. But you can do the same thing. Right-click on it, send to, essentially, and choose zip. That will work as well. And you can use whatever text editor you want to. I showed you VS Code. That is really going to be helpful, I think. But you can use whatever you want to. If you're really hardcore and you want to use Vim or something like that, you can do that too. I don't care. That'll do color coding for you as well. So anyway, the CSS and JavaScript challenge. So put all those in a zip file. Send that to me as your submission. I only want one file, the zip file. But that zip will contain everything else. So anyhow, this is probably the longest lecture you'll have. I think I may have said that already. But yeah, this really is the one. This is the longest one. But anyhow, that's the deal. Go through all that. Hopefully you get something out of it. Maybe you even enjoy it. Work on that this week. Ask for help if you need it, and I'll give you a hand.